Hello guys, welcome back. In the last video we created a hello world program which has all these different lines, and there's all these orange keywords that you saw, and then when we ran the function it printed hello world. Just to unwrap what's happening here is all you need to know at this stage is there's a class called hello world which has a function called main which is executed every time this program runs, and it's only printing hello world at the moment. That's all you need to know. We'll quickly have a look at what the other bits and pieces mean. Before we start, I'm just going to go ahead and add a new class, call it conditionals, and every time you add a new file this is going to come up and you can just say remember and add. I'm just going to do that. So every time you add a new file it turns green, it gets added to the git staging. I want to have a if condition that compares a number. And so we'll be introducing to a lot of new concepts like variables and conditionals. I'm going to go ahead and just paste in some code and then I'll go over it. So I have a public class which is called conditionals, and I have a main function here which is calling a check condition function. And that check condition function is a private function for this class. All it's doing is it's declared a new variable, initialized it to a value of 0, and then it compares that value and prints out a different line depending on what it is. So let's quickly have a run and see what happens. So it's 0. If I make this 2 and run it again, it prints it's not 0. So very straightforward, but then there's something odd that you can see here. Now there's public static void main, and then there's a public static void check condition. So what's happening here is we have a public class, which means the class can be accessed within the anywhere within the project, and there is a public static void main. So anytime you have a main method, it'll always be public static void main, because there's only one main class that'll get executed for any number of objects for that class. That's what the word static means. Void means it doesn't return anything. Even this method, it's not returning anything. It's printing something to console, so we have some feedback, but it's not returning a value. What happens if I get rid of the static method here, right? So instantaneously you can see that this is highlighted in red. When you look at it, it says make the condition static, or make main not static. What if you don't wanna have this method as static? What if you wanna have this method as one method per object? To do that, we'll have to restructure the program. I'll quickly go ahead and do that. So I've still got the class, but it's not public anymore because I've made it package private, so it can only be accessed within this project. All the access modifiers except for the public static void main are all gone, because every method now, the class main, the class condition, the method check condition, they're all what we call package private. If I add a private here, it's going to complain, right? See check condition, and if I come here, it tells me that I have to make it package private. It's very critical to understand the access modifiers. Usually you wouldn't have to deal with this so much, because you'd not have two classes in one file. So just to understand the different access modifier there are, this is a really good way to learn that. We've got a void check condition which is being called from the object now. That's the only difference from the last code and this one. I'm just gonna commit this. I'm just gonna have both versions. So I'm gonna say working to class solution for access modifiers, and then I'm just gonna commit this. Let's quickly go ahead and run, make sure it works. Now you can see it's complaining that the main method is missing in conditionals. So this was conditional, so I'm gonna right click on main and run main. Right, num is not 0. If I change that to 0, right, so that's basically how it works. I'm gonna switch back to the other way of doing things. Before I switch, earlier conditionals.java was one file, but now there's two classes. So what IntelliJ does is it puts in this little arrow or drop down, and it shows you both classes. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete that and see how it's now gone. I'm going to put back the old code. I'm also going to first commit this. So I'm just going to say one class solution access modifiers. and commit this as well. Just quickly to see what's happened, if you want to go to Git down here, and there's a log up here, right? So if you go to git log, which is actually the command in Git, you can just type git log and it'll tell you the whole log. So that was our first commit, and that was what was in there, and these were the files that were modified. And this is the first hello world program that we added, and that's the commit method, commit message that I put in when I did that. That's the conditionals code that we added, the first one, the 2-class solution, and then the 1-class solution that I just added. And you can see that the head and the master branch are both pointing to this particular commit. So that's a little bit of an overview of what we did so far in Git. To run this again, you'll have to right click and run the conditionals.main. Alright, so we'll come back in the next video. We'll expand on our learning from here. We'll switch to different type of variables, and we'll try different more conditionals here. Thank you.